I'm seeing everyone looks very comfortable in their homes. I got everyone pulled up on I see all the thumbnails with everyone. So how's it going? It's nice
Yeah,
to see
everybody's
some more.
waving. So everybody, so just let me introduce this again for the sake of the video. So Carlos Gill, everybody, entrepreneur, social media marketer, understands content, understands analytics, understands how to uh, develop programs from a business and brand standpoint, having worked at some pretty large companies, which we'll talk about, but then also just the personal brand hustle perspective that you guys need. We've talked about setting yourself and differentiating yourself from others and how to do that online. So please just give it up for Carlos. Carlos, thank you again, man, for being here. I know it's late for you. So maybe you can start out by just talking to us about your journey, how you got to where you are today. Maybe just take a couple minutes and then we'll jump into the Q&A.
It's crazy. And first of all, thank you so much. I don't know if I should call you Mr. Brito
Brito,
or
call me Brito.
Professor Brito in this setting, but thank you for having me here with your class tonight. It really means a lot. I know we did this a few years ago when I was still living in the Bay Area. I don't know if you shared with the with the class here, but I wrote a book in the last year, The End of Marketing, and I actually give your professor his due for actually making this book possible. I believe a lot in giving people credit where credit is due. My dad, is former military, like Professor Brito is. And my dad always told me when I was a kid that networking will save your life. And you meet a lot of people in your life, and you meet people for a reason. Sometimes that reason is made known to you right away. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes later on in life, you look back and you're like, oh man, like, so you start doing inventory of jobs that you've gotten, of relationships that you've been in and out of. You start kind of doing an assessment of the people along your way that have helped illuminate your path and guide you. And I can honestly say that one of my biggest goals in my life, up until I actually did it, was writing a book. And you see, writing a book, while there's a novelty to it, and it's really easy, it's also really hard to get discovered. It's just like writing music. It's just like a musician that's trying to get a record deal. It's just like an athlete that's trying to get drafted. Not everyone out there is able to write a book for many reasons. And I went through, in early on in my career, this desire to want to be famous, want to be known. And I wanted to write a book and thought I was ready, and I wasn't ready. And ironically, one day in 2018, beginning of 2018, Professor Brito hit me up on Facebook Messenger to ask me if I was watching the Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots AFC Championship game. He knows I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Absolutely, I was watching the game. And that one conversation, a little speck of a moment in time where he was on an airplane flying somewhere and decided to hit up his homie, actually led to this book being written, a book that has now been purchased and read and consumed by people all over the world. People write to me personally almost every single day, whether it's LinkedIn or email, saying, hey, this book has just made such a big difference in my life. But the only reason why I'm saying this is because, in essence, this book wouldn't have even been possible if it wasn't for Professor Brito to even make an introduction to his publisher, which now we share a publisher. So I want to thank you publicly in this forum in front of your class. Also those watching on the replay on the internet. But I say this because so much of what you hear about in life as you get older is centered around the word relationships. Relationships do matter. And I'm just sharing this with you because now that I'm at an older stage in my life, and I say older, but now that I'm kind of at a different stage in my life where I'm working for myself, people look up to me, I consult, I do all these cool things. Okay, a big part of that has to do because of the relationships that I've formed. And, I know we're going to kind of get into, the hustle and what I'm doing, but, within your class right now, I know times are difficult because you can't necessarily go see classmates like you normally would. Definitely make it a priority if you aren't already to network and stay in touch with the folks that you go to school with. Right now in the room, I've got my 14-year-old son. Purposely, I want him to stay up and consume. We're going to talk about here because you see, he's a few years away from having to make that decision of where he's going to go to school. He's a freshman in high school. And, you know, I speak to him all the time about the value of relationships, because I personally didn't go to college until I was 30 years old. You know, I dropped out of high school after my junior year. I got a GED, and I had to struggle early on in my career. And what I mean by struggling was, and like, I use that word loosely because I call it struggling, when in reality I was working hard. I was trying to get noticed. I was trying to get people to care about me. It was persistently annoying to many people, but at the same time, just trying to get myself out there. I know, you know, Mike's nodding his head because, you know, we've had these conversations. He's seen that evolution. But again, I can't stress the value enough, you know, to all of you, my son here who's in the room. Make the right friends and really have an eye for identifying talent from the standpoint of who's going to make me a better person and a better professional. Again, I know it was a very long-winded way to introduce myself. The very short kind of cliff notes of my bio is I'm originally from South Florida, born and raised in Fort Lauderdale. You know, I've bounced around the country quite a bit for my career. I started my career actually in banking, lost my job in the banking industry in 2008. That's really when I started tapping into online marketing and social media to build a brand for myself. And we'll definitely get into personal branding, but what I can tell you to be the absolute gospel about personal branding is, you know, building up a network. Once again, getting yourself out there, getting people know who you are, and more importantly, getting them to recognize you for something, whatever that something is. And in my case, I've built an entire career around being known as a social media marketer, as a marketing professional. But I've had the opportunity to work for a few different brands, Winn-Dixie and Save-A-Lot in the grocery space, running social media. Spent a very short time working at LinkedIn in the Bay Area. And then I worked at BMC Software, which is right there in Santa Clara. For those of you that live in the area, ran social media for them for a couple of years before going out on my own. Since 2017, I've been independent, had an opportunity to work with some really cool brands, you know, as a consultant, influencer, currently doing a campaign with Nationwide Insurance, just signed on to do a campaign with Facebook, which is really exciting. And, you know, what can I say? I think that, you know, I've parlayed a pretty decent career for myself, created a pretty decent career for myself, parlaying some of the relationships that I've met along the way, and just really maximizing every opportunity and learning from it. You know, even opportunities that didn't necessarily work out, learning from those and just continuously moving forward.
Thank you, man. Well, first of all, let me thank you because, you know, you've said thank you to me before. And so doing it publicly is pretty cool, man. I do appreciate that. But I've never met your son. So, you know, and I don't expect you to put him on video, but I know he's listening.
You want to meet him real quick?
Yeah, put him on.
Come on in. This is Carlos the Third.
What's up, little man? He's not so little.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I still see pictures of you, but even when you were really little, man, you had little chubby kid growing up, and I used to see you on Facebook all the time. So you're all growing up. Good to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, your dad's a good dude, really. You know, and that's one thing that I wanted to say, and I hope you just stay for now, because, you know, as you guys all are, you know, building your career and out there on the internet and going off to, you know, in your careers, you're going to meet people, and we talk about networking and personal branding, but, you know, it's not necessarily about the quantity of people that know you, it's the quality. And, you know, I can probably count on one hand, maybe two, of people that I've met in the industry who I hold in very high regard. And Carlos is definitely one of those people, because he's real. He's the realest person that you can ever be. And he's Carlos. He's the same Carlos in person. He's the same Carlos in, you know, on Twitter. He's the same Carlos on Instagram. Wherever you find Carlos and see him, he is that person. He doesn't play, you know, a role, right? He's just who he is. And I admire that about you, brother. So thank you for the kind words, and little Carlos Jr., good to meet you. And hopefully we can meet in person someday.
All right.
Cool. All right. So
you have a nice night.
You too. Very polite. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about, Carlos, and, you know, again, I've kind of watched your career progress, and you've done a lot, you know, on the brand side. You know, you were doing a lot of writing and video tutorials on your YouTube channel, on Snapchat, you know, and Snapchat, you know, I'm not sure what your point of view is on Snapchat today. You know, TikTok's a new one. So how important is if you can answer this in a two-part question. One is from a personal brand standpoint, how important is it to build a brand in specific social networks? Do you focus on one or do you focus on more? That's the first question from a student personal brand standpoint.
Right.
And then from a business standpoint, it's kind of the same question. All these channels out there, right? Because these, my students are majoring in journalism, marketing, advertising, and PR. And so as they go into whether a startup or, large brand or agency, there's the big question of from a brand standpoint, we need to be in every channel. So what's your perspective on large brands, storytelling and using, doing that from a channel standpoint?
So let me kind of break this down two parts. One, there's the individual. Two, there's the company. So first of all, let's kind of break down the individual. And, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You don't have to have a personal brand in order to be successful. You don't. I know, let me tell you something. I know personally in my network, I'm connected to a lot of men and women that own very successful 8 and 9 figure a year agencies and companies. They're bringing home 8 and 9 figures in revenue a year. And they have virtually no presence on Twitter, no presence on Instagram, no Snapchat, no TikTok. And they are some of the happiest people you can ever meet because they are making money. They're managing their business and they're kind of focusing on their little piece of the world. And at times that's something I envy, to be honest with you, because when you have a personal brand, you really have to be all in and married to the game. And I don't think, honestly, this is something I've even ever really spoken about publicly. So kudos to you, Professor, for getting this out of me, because I think a lot of people just think like, oh, Carlos is all over social media. He's like a personal brand junkie. There's days where I wish I could turn this stuff off and just enjoy being a dad and, enjoying my kids. The reality is I've missed out on a lot of occasions throughout their lives. And a lot of times I've been living life through a screen. Okay. So I think that's like more of like the dark side of social media and personal branding that people really won't tell you, or thought leaders and gurus won't tell you, because the reality is that the more time that you're spending on a phone to impress strangers is less time that you're actually spending in the real world with family, with friends, with people that really matter. Okay, so let's just kind of put that out there. So I know that there's this illusion that if you're verified on social media or you have all these followers, that you're just gonna be happier. And I'm gonna tell you this as the gospel, because this is something that I'm going through right now. My brother-in-law and I started a mask business because of the pandemic. We created these masks called Outlaw Masks. And we've been using TikTok to grow our business. In the last 28 days, this is no BS, in the last 20 days, I can pull up my metrics, we've gained over 7 million views on TikTok. Yesterday, we had a video go viral, gained 1.2 million views within 15 hours. Sales through the roof. My phone, literally, cha-ching, 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 every single minute of the day. Talk about the biggest high you can imagine is when you see that your video just keeps popping and you're hearing like literally the cash register go off. Today, not popping. Today, marginal average day in sales. And these are like the highs and lows that I've learned personally how to manage. My brother-in-law, on the other hand, who's very new to social media, very new to the art of going viral or being known, it's a little bit more difficult for him to manage, because the thought process, right, is, well, now you're TikTok famous. Now you're well known. Now you gain, we just hit 50,000 followers in TikTok before I jumped on here. And, yeah, he and I are excited, but I've learned how to curb that excitement and just kind of enjoy the moment, but also realize like there's more to the marketing and the business and the hustle game than just that moment of getting that hit. So again, kind of going back to your question, not trying to like deviate too off topic. The first thing that I'll put to you like this. Before COVID, when I'd go out and speak at conferences, I would already know there's going to be someone that sees me speak with just the passion that I bring to the stage that's going to come up to me after I'm done, and they're going to ask me about personal brand, how they can do what I do. It happens all the time. It's the question I get asked the most. Carlos, how can I have a personal brand? The first thing I ask people is, well, why do you want to have a personal brand? That's first and foremost. You need to have a purpose for why you are going to devote so much time to the internet. The reality is that you can make a good living being an accountant, CPA, attorney. Like there's so many things that you can do. You can go be, in the marketing department at a company and you don't need it. Now, that's the reality. But the flip side is that by having a personal brand, now it makes you more accessible to the world. And that is a positive thing. So you look at where I was when I was 25 years old back in 2008, 37 now. And at 25, when I got let go from a job and I didn't have a personal brand to fall back on, I had to struggle, right? I really had to struggle because I didn't have an education or a network. Nowadays, if times ever get a little rough, there's a lot of people I can reach out to, right? Because I've already built up brand equity in Carlos Gil, and I can do I could talk for the next 4 or 5 hours about what goes into building a personal brand, but I'd say like the very short cliff notes are the benefits is, again, makes you discoverable, makes you connectable. In some cases, even makes you more hireable, because I can tell you, especially nowadays, one of the first things that any hiring manager does is they Google your name when you are a candidate to potentially be hired by a company. So if you are, interviewing for, let's say, a digital marketing specialist job, and, actually I went through this because I believe in a former life, I hired one of your students, that was in a previous class. So when someone younger comes to me, I want to do an audit on what exists about that individual.
Oh, DJ. It was DJ.
Yeah, DJ. Yeah. I want to know what exists. I want to know what their hobbies are. I want to know if they're actually blogging and writing anything. Because even if you are, let's say you like sports, right, and it has nothing to do with the career path that you're looking to pursue, if I can actually read your words, now I can get to understand your creativity, your passions, like you're a real human. And like that's the key in personal branding, is making that human connection with people, right? Like 100%. That relatability and likability is what will help you get hired. It's what will help you get clients. It's what will help you connect with people. Like, again, Professor Brito and I, we have a commonality besides being the fact that we have, families and we're dads to daughters, but we like sports, right? So that's one thing that I know I can always tweet at him and talk about the Lakers, who are about to beat my team, the Heat, in the finals, right? Like that's that commonality that we have. Now let's talk about the brand side, right? Because you asked about the brand side, and I don't know if that's
hold up. No, it is actually. Before you jump into that, you brought up a really good point, and I just wanted to ask a question around, because we are cut from the same cloth, right? Nothing has ever been handed to me as a young kid growing up. I've had to work for everything that I have. And, and one of the things that I teach in class is, obviously LinkedIn and posting is important, but you have to go out and get what it is you want. And nothing is, and very rarely do we have the benefit of receiving gifts of interviews or gifts of a well-paying job right out of college, right? You have to work hard. And so I was hoping you can just talk to that, but then also give the example of the Outlaw Masks and what you did during the NBA finals or the NBA season in Orlando.
Where do you want me to start?
Well, I just want you to start, because that's not easy to do what you did, right? And I think maybe it was, I don't know, you tell me, but I think the way that because hustle it's a cliche to say nowadays, right? Everybody says you got to hustle, but like I said, you're a living example of somebody who hustles and just by all means possible, you go get what it is you want to get. And if you can just talk a little bit about that and maybe give some examples of starting your own business.
There's a couple forms of hustle, so to speak. One is more of like the show me preneur, so to speak, right? There's this hustle culture that's been established, on the internet and social media, that if you are not looking, inhumanely busy, that you are a complete utter failure. And I disagree with that. At one point in my younger years, I would work around the flipping clock, and it had an effect on my relationship with my spouse, with my kids, right? I was really unhappy because I felt like I was hustling to impress others, right? And I think that was like around the time that you and I even met. Nowadays, I really look at hustle as like, you know what, man? I'm going to work hard and I'm going to do the right things so I can actually enjoy doing the things I want to do with the people I want to be with. Right? Like, don't let anyone make you think that you have to work ungodly hours in order to be successful. right? The beauty of work and putting in work and getting results is that you actually control the outcome. And I really wish that more bosses, if you will, at corporations would speak like that to their employees and make employees feel like they actually have ownership in their job and ownership in even the company. Because, you know, no boss ever spoke to me that way, but I realized being an entrepreneur that it's up to me to determine if I'm even in business, how much I make, how much I'm able to give out, who I'm able to hire. It's all based on what I actually put out there. So what Brito's referring to is earlier this year, COVID happens. I'm supposed to go on this world tour to promote the end of marketing, to promote my book. And literally within a week, book tour, gone. Revenue, gone. Big corporate clients that were clients of my agency that I was paying overhead, gone. Like, it was one of the worst weeks of my life. But I've also gotten to a point where I realized that things in life happen for a reason. And, you know, whatever that reason is, the silver lining might not be revealed to you in that instant. But I knew there was a reason why my career was all of a sudden being flipped sideways. And, you know, I actually tweeted this earlier today and no one really caught onto it. And I think maybe I need to, you know, go a little deeper, you know, maybe a podcast or write a blog about this. But I kind of dealt with this imposter syndrome for a moment, where I kept saying to myself, well, everyone knows me as that guy that's a speaker. And, you know, how the last 4 years I've been on the speaking circuit and every week I'm in a different city and I'm checking in and I'm doing this. And there's a cool factor to that because, again, it's showing the hustle. But what that really is just showing that you're busy. You're not really doing anything. You're just appearing to be at places when you really break it down. So my brother-in-law and I, we took our families to the mountains in North Carolina. You know, we were kind of looking at COVID as this thing that was probably going to be like, you know, contagion or outbreak. You know, like, don't get me wrong, it's really serious. But we were thinking this is like, you know, zombie apocalypse type gimmick happening here. So we're now in a cabin in literally the middle of nowhere. If you Google Banner Elk, North Carolina, it's a population of 1,000 people. And we're at this cabin and we're like, dude, what the hell are we going to do? And mind you, we had CNN on every day and like the numbers are climbing. So my brother-in-law and I start thinking, you know, masks are big in Asia. They're probably going to start enforcing masks in the United States. And we should probably get on the train quickly. But instead of being like every other marketer that's trying to make a quick buck by selling PPE or, you know, the disposable paper masks, let's do something that's actually in the fashion space and it's cool. And my brother-in-law is actually from LA. I'm from South Florida near Miami. We both love hip hop culture. We both understand street culture, street fashion. So we decided to come up with this idea of coming up with a cool mask. Again, you know, the Outlaw Mask that has the paisley print that, you know, normally you would associate with a bandana. And, you know, I tell you, we move fast. Within 30 days, we literally had products procured, design of our product, logo, website. It was a fast rise. Now, launching a business, I'll say this to all of you, is easy. It's easy. Literally, I have my 12-year-old daughter now that's on the entrepreneurial kick, and she's thinking all these business ideas, and, you know, I'm buying her products for her to like make paintings and things. Launching a business is easy. Actually marketing and promoting your business and getting people to buy, the marketing aspect is the work. Same thing for writing a book. Writing a book, easy. Getting people to buy, hard. And again, this is where imposter syndrome kicks in, even for a best-selling author or master marketer, because you really start to doubt yourself. What am I going to do when people are like, look at Carlos Gil over here selling masks? Who the hell does he think he is, right? Because you have haters and you have people that are going to, you know, talk smack, because I don't come from the fashion world. I don't come from the e-commerce world. And guess what? I'm not fronting like I do either. But what I will say, again, going back to hustle, is that if you want to learn how to do something, you will force yourself to learn. I forced myself to learn Shopify. Okay. When you're not working and you've got all the time in the world to learn something, you will learn. So what we did was, as soon as I started seeing that the NBA was returning, I said to my brother-in-law, Reggie, you know what, Reg? I got an idea. We're going to have 300 basketball players staying in Orlando at the NBA bubble. Let me see how we can get masks to them. And again, this goes back to networking, okay? So immediately, first thing I do is I go on LinkedIn, type in NBA, boom, boom. I see there's people I'm connected to that work at the NBA. All right, let me work that angle. Now I start thinking through, doing a mental inventory. Who have I met in the last couple of years? At a party, at a conference, having drinks, playing golf. Who have I met that could get me in with the NBA? I know this guy who I met South by Southwest 2 years ago who works directly with players doing their financial services, like doing their financial management. Boom, call him. He's like, hey, I represent these guys. This is the angle. This is what you got to do to get product to them. Now, he's leading me in one way. But I also know that there's also the possibility of having direct dialogue with players. So this is where it gets cool. This is where it gets exciting. What's great about this device is it gives you access virtually to everybody in the world. So I literally on one Saturday afternoon go on Instagram and start with the first team that was in the bubble all the way on down to the last team. I messaged every single NBA player in Orlando. And guess what happens when professional athletes are quarantined? Because I purposely messaged them when they arrived to Orlando and they were quarantined. They had to stay in their rooms, I think, for like 2 or 3 days. So I knew these guys are going to be doing a couple things. They're going to be playing Call of Duty, and they're going to be bored out of their mind in a hotel room on their cell phones. So I can't tell you how many guys wrote back to me personally when I said, hey, man, what's the best way to get mail to you? I didn't say I'm going to send you a mask. I didn't say who I am. It was literally, hey, man, what's the best way to get mail to you? Yo, I had guys from almost every single team that were giving me room numbers. I had one guy on the 76ers that gave me the list of every single player on the team with the room number and everything. So I turned to my brother-in-law and said, dude, this is easy. This is the stuff that I talk about in the end of marketing. This is being a marketing savage. And, you know, what we did was once we knew how to get product to the players, we literally packaged up 300 masks, hand wrote their names on all the packages we sent to the guys. And then the fun really began, which was, all right, who's going to wear the first mask? We put a little card inside every bag. And basically it was a very short introduction. You know, we are 2 minority entrepreneurs who've been affected by the pandemic, just like you have. So now we made this personal. 10% of every sale of our product goes to the Creating Equality Fund, which again, strategically, we realize that the majority of these players, you know, are supporting a big cause, which is equality, social injustice, Black Lives Matter. I'm Hispanic. My co-founder is Black. And truthfully, 10% of our purchases do go to support social injustice, and equality funds are established. So again, we were trying to make a big impact at a very small price point. We spent maybe about $1,000 in total between product, packaging, UPS, boom. And then the waiting game happened. We waited maybe about a week, and I'll never forget the first time seeing an NBA player wearing an Outlaw mask. I gotta be honest with you, Brito, it was more exciting seeing that than holding the end of marketing for the first time in my hands. It was just a feeling I cannot describe, because it was pretty flipping cool just to know a few months ago, I'm sitting in this cabin in the middle of nowhere. I honestly have no idea what's even going to happen, how I'm going to pay my bills. Like, it seems like the world is falling apart. And now NBA players are wearing a product that didn't even exist more than a few months ago. And I tell you what, guys and girls, that was really the boost that we needed for us to catapult our business. Like, you know, it's just been saying we had a lot of guys wearing masks, guys from the LA Lakers, J.R. Smith of the Lakers just wore a mask to game 3. And again, being kind of the marketing extraordinaire, if you will, this is all content. You know, it's content to be able to show we've got professional athletes wearing our masks. And, you know, we documented that. We shared it on social media that, you know, motivate people to buy. It's motivated professional teams. We're in talks with NFL, MLB, We just finished trademarking our company, which is really exciting because now we're like, dang, like now we're really entering, no pun intended, like the major leagues here. And again, this is just having faith, having belief. And this is why I say when things happen in life, they happen for a reason. They happen for you. I know a lot of people, it's real easy to get discouraged. You don't get the job you want. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend breaks up with you. Someone says some mean things. It's so easy, like get down on yourself. And, looking back on this, I maybe it sounds like an a-hole thing for me to say, but like, in a way, I'm glad that COVID happened because it took COVID to happen for me to stop doing what I was doing, which was in a way the fake hustle, to actually really hustle and build something really remarkable. And, Reggie, my co-founder and brother-in-law and I, we every single day, man, we go through these moments where it's like, we both almost like cry out of happiness just to see this business take off. We just hired our first employee recently. And, I don't know if I'm just rambling at this point, so feel free to cut me off, Brito. But, what I'll say to all of y'all out there is if you have an idea, ideas without execution are worthless. Right? No one gets paid to sit on ideas. Right now I'll give you guys an example. Right now, I've got 2 bags of coffee in my hands. This is the next company I'm going to launch. It's a coffee company, right? I've been sitting on this coffee for 2 months without launching this company because I can't decide if I like the shiny plastic or I like the matte black plastic, but it's the same product in these bags with the same logo, but I can't decide over packaging. So like, again, this is a multi-million-dollar idea sitting in my hands that I'm not executing. So I'm going to stop there, Mike. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no, this was super powerful, man. In fact, this is what I wanted, right? I wanted you to just speak from the heart, and you said it yourself. You weren't even prepared to talk about what you talked about. So this is exactly what I wanted. And I was hoping that you would, speak from the heart like you always do. And you were definitely it displayed there. So what I want to do now is first of all, I just want to thank you, brother, for dialing in and for spending time with the students. The story's inspiring, brother. I mean, it really is. And I'm excited. I'm like, what can I do to help? Like, let me in on some of this. But I want to just open it up to the students. And, I think this, again, there were a lot of points here, right? There's a lot of key takeaways. There's a lot of life learning that Carlos talked about. So I want to open up. I want to be respectful of his time because it's late for him. And so I'd like to just allow anybody just to go off mute and ask any question. And then we'll conclude in about 10 minutes.
I'm having a good time. I'm fired up. So, hey, ask away. We can keep the fun times going.
I have a question. You talked a lot about networking, but what if you're like in the introverted side and you are kind of awkward when it comes to like communicating with others? What would be one of your suggestions when it comes to that?
So you probably think I'm full of it, but I'm actually an introvert myself, and you would never know because I kind of know how to like flip that switch on and off. I'm an only child. I grew up kind of a loner. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I lived in Montana and Utah, and I'm Hispanic. And I always kind of felt like, I don't know, I really didn't fit in. So I was a loner a lot growing up as a kid. So I'm even surprised that I feel comfortable opening up like this to complete strangers. But what I will say is one of the hardest things to master is having the confidence to talk into a screen. I will tell you for a fact, most marketing executives that are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if you give them a phone and you go on Instagram stories, they won't even know what to say because it takes time and it takes practice. That's really what I would urge. If you feel a little shy, practice talking to yourself. I know it sounds weird as hell to say. Before Mike met me, Snapchat had just kind of come out, and that was the first social network where I really started to develop my personality. I wasn't really socially awkward anymore because it was like, well, I'm just talking to my phone and looking at myself, talking back to myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, how scary is that? It's more scary, quite frankly, for me to put like the thumbnail or the gallery view and I'm looking at all your faces right now. Because now it's like, dang, I'm looking at someone looking down. I'm looking at someone eating something. You know what I mean? Like, now my mind goes in all these different directions. But I would say, like, it's like anything else. It's practice. You know, same thing with public speaking. I think I was a horrible public speaker up until maybe like a year or two ago, because it's just repetitions, it's at bats, it's shots that you take. So what I would urge you though, before you kind of start like developing that persona or that personality, is again, really do a self-assessment. Like, what do I really want to do with my life? What do I want to be known for? You know, my son's here in the room, and, you know, I don't want to pick his career path for him, but I think my son would be like a really dope commentator, analyst on ESPN, right? He likes sports. He took after me. He likes to talk. He likes to be kind of that center of attention. So what I would urge him to do if he wants to get into sports is, dude, start a vlog on YouTube just talking about sports, right? But that's something that for most people, not everyone, doesn't come natural. It takes a while to learn that finesse, if you were, that art form of how to feel comfortable speaking on camera. Everything from posture, everything from owning the frame, you know what I mean? You can't be overly critical on yourself. You know, trust me, there's times where I watch a keynote or, you know, a piece of content from a talk. I'm like, oh man, I look big and I don't like how I look. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of got to let go of those things and just embrace that we all have a gift. And that gift kind of shines through us to the rest of the world.
Thank you, Carlos. Fernando, you had a question?
I was one I sent you to try to connect on LinkedIn, so hopefully you accept it.
Absolutely, I'll send it.
All right, thank you. And another one was, so you spoke on like a level of annoyance to like get your product out there, and I've heard that before from like DJ Khaled, how that's how he got artists to be on his albums and stuff. So I just want to know, like, what do you think is the like level of annoyance that you should be? Like, where do you stop? At what point do you stop being like so annoying, I guess?
Solid question. And I love it. First of all, I like DJ Khaled a lot. I write about him in my book. I'm a fan of how he's built a brand. You know, when I was growing up in South Florida, I used to listen to DJ Khaled on 99 Jams, which is the hip hop station down in Miami. He was just a DJ. Okay. And this guy has built one of the most influential brands on social media up there with Kylie Jenner. I believe in, you have to go after what you want, and you have to be persistently annoying. And there's a fine line. You know, there's times where I feel like I'm annoying someone a little too much, and I'll kind of like apologize. And then people are like, 9 times out of 10, people are like, oh, I appreciate your persistence. Because here's the thing that I'll tell you, everyone that's someone was in your shoes at one point, and they were persistently annoying. So they respect the hustle. You know, I would rather you say, dang, this guy is on top of me and emailing and following up than, you know, I had this meeting with Fernando and I never heard from him again. You know what I'm saying? So I think, again, if you want something, you will find a way to make it happen. I'll give you guys a very real life example. We're in negotiations right now with an NFL team about doing a giveaway, 10,000 Outlaw Masks to one of the games this season. And my co-founder and I, we tag team, if you will, right? Our level of being persistently annoying is we alternate between text, email. He and I, like, if I was the last touch point, then he'll be the next touch point. We've learned that people love gifts. We do, you know, if we can, impromptu drop-ins to people's businesses. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we were in the area. We just want to drop by and, you know, maybe bring some bagels to your staff. Like, these are things, man, that if you want things to happen, you just got to be on it. And I'll kind of bring it back home a little bit closer. Throughout my career, one of the reasons why I've been able to land the jobs that I've been able to land had nothing to do with education. And don't take this the wrong way, because I respect and admire the fact that every one of you is doing what I didn't do. But what really helped me get the jobs is I knew how to interview really well. I also knew to play the game of all the steps that you got to take throughout the interview process, which means if you really want a job, you will follow up with that person. You will send them a nice note. You will send them an email. You will let them know that you want the job, because the reality is you've got nothing to lose, right? If they hire someone else, they hire someone else. It was meant to be, right, that way. But again, whether it's business, whether it's career, whether it's, getting an A in Professor Brito's class here, you just got to be persistently annoying with people. And trust me, if someone thinks that you're being a little over the top, then they themselves will tell you.
Great advice. Anybody else want to have a question for Carlos?
Question.
All right, what's up, Luis?
Yeah, so like one thing I wanted to like say, is that I found like his speech very inspiring, because I find myself in the same shoes as him, because sometimes I feel like, oh, what if I'm annoying, if I'm persistent and everything, but like I guess like kind of like feeling like kind of like hearing it from him, like it kind of makes me feel more confident to get out there.
Good.
Let me tell you something I want to add, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
And again, I think some folks might think of this as arrogance or being conceited, but I look at it again from the standpoint of look, any relationship in business is a two-way street, it's a two-way transaction. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to work with me, and it's up to you. Like, the opportunity is right here. It's up to you if you want to take it or not. If you don't want to take it, it's cool. I'm going to go work with someone else. I'm going to give someone else the opportunity that you once had. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how you have to start thinking of what you bring to the table. Look, a lot of people seem to think that when you write a book and you're a best-selling author that you've made it. You really haven't made it. Like, yes, you've accomplished something that other people haven't, but it's not like all of a sudden every opportunity just comes at you, even today, right? I'm going to just share a very humbling story with you guys. Even today, I'm like, this one conference hasn't booked me in a while. Do they not like me anymore? They're not answering my emails. So I go on Facebook Messenger and send the conference director a message on Messenger. I see that he reads it. I follow back up because now I see that he read the message. And this is what I'm talking about, persistently annoying. I'm like, hey, if right now is not a good time to chat, like, let me know. Then the guy doesn't really acknowledge what I said, but then says to me, I really don't check Facebook Messenger all that often. Well, it's like, dude, you're writing to me on Facebook Messenger. So guess what? I sent him a text message. I was like, hey, man, since you don't check Messenger, just wanted to touch base with you here. And then he's like, dude, LOL, I don't have an answer for you as to why we haven't booked you. But it's like, again, I gave you an opportunity. I got a story right now. It's hot that you guys all just got, which is TikTok, right? I could be telling your audience is paying you to learn something. I could be giving them that intel, that knowledge. You don't want it? All right, cool. I'm going to the next person. Like, that's what I'm talking about, right? You're annoying because you know you're good and you want something and you want to give people you, but if they don't want you, it's all good. There's, 7.5 billion people on this earth? You know what I'm saying? A long time ago, I got out of my own headspace, like, oh man, my feelings are gonna be hurt because this person doesn't follow me on social media, or this person doesn't want to invite me to go speak at their conference. All right, cool. I'm gonna just keep doing me. And the people like Brito that recognize it, they'll F with me. The people that don't, that's on them. I just had to throw that out there.
That's a straight mic drop right there. We just need to stop now because you can't top that one. I'm kidding. Any other questions for Carlos?
Yeah, so like I would just like to add, because I'm gonna follow him on LinkedIn.
What? Oh. Sweet. Yeah. So real quick so Carlos, he will connect with you anywhere. So look him up on LinkedIn. I'm gonna actually upload this video tomorrow. Carlos, is it cool? Everything you said on this video is good to go. I can publish it.
Cool, man.
Okay. So I'm gonna publish this tomorrow on LinkedIn. I'm gonna tag Carlos in it. So if you can't find him tonight on LinkedIn, you'll see it. Make sure you comment on it, etc. And connect with him there. And he's also very active on Twitter, which not very many students are right now. And that's kind of okay. But also Instagram, Snapchat, and everywhere else. So just look him up, Carlos Gil.
You gotta get on the
Twitter website. Game. You have links to all your platforms, right?
You gotta get on the Twitter game.
Get on the Twitter game, straight up, dude. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's not. I tell them the same thing.
It's quite frankly the best social network out of all of them that exists.
That's true, man. That's straight knowledge.
That can be everywhere. I'm Carlos Gil 83 on Instagram. And let's definitely stay in touch. If I can be of a resource to any of you, if you need some mentorship, need some guidance, just hit me up.
Hey, Carlos, I just want to thank you, brother. I mean, dude, this session was inspiring to me. And somebody who's known you for many years and kind of watched your growth trajectory and doing all these things and watched several of your keynote sessions and we engage together a lot online and offline. I'm super impressed. I mean, you got me fired up. you know, I'm going to go start me a coffee company or some, maybe espresso machines or something. But really though, I consider you a real friend, and I trust you, and I have a very high regard for you and your son, Carlos, and your family. So next time you're in the Bay Area or next time we're in Florida, we'll definitely connect and
Sure,
spend some time together. So
I'm sorry, what is your handle for Snapchat?
So I'm not on Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
I think I failed to let you know that before we got started. But you know, check out what we're doing at Outlaw Masks on TikTok. For those of you that are on TikTok, because I think what you're going to really learn is, and we spend zero money on TikTok, but what you're going to see is really what humanizing your brand is all about. And I think that I didn't really, maybe we can do a part 2 of this. You know, I'll leave that up to you, but you know, I think that brands nowadays have lost touch of what marketing is really about. And marketing at its core is communication, it's relatability, it's likability. I don't know if you guys have seen the TikTok video of the guy named Dogface that was skateboarding with the ocean spray. Who hasn't, right? There's a reason why that video has boosted Ocean Spray sales, and it's because there's a likability in the person that created the video that really has nothing to do with Ocean Spray. And I think brands, they try too hard. If it would have been the same video on Ocean Spray's social media accounts, that video would not have popped and gained 27 million views like it has. I guarantee you. So again, when you guys look at Outlaw Masks, what I really encourage you to see is how we're marketing a product and a brand without ever even mentioning the product.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to stop recording now.